Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please have some fun with me and join me on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Not that type of fun. Not with geeks and nerds. That's for the other people who follow me on Instagram and TikTok. That's so we can talk about nerdy stuff and other stuff going on, and you can see me keep on crossing the line and getting into trouble. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DC Daily. So last night, the whole world was broken, or the internet was broken, and certainly Twitter was broken with the announcement of Michael Keaton returning as Batman and Bruce Wayne in Andres Muschietti Flashpoint movie alongside Ezra Miller. Now, what we've all got to understand here is that the MCU are doing exactly the same thing as DC film and tapping into the multiverse. Now, Feige and the MCU and Marvel Studios are doing it via Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, the reason Raimi is tapped to direct this movie is because he's the only one who could persuade Tobey Maguire to return to his role as Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the MCU. And that's going to be as big as Keaton kind of returning as Batman. And the thing is with Doctor Strange, it really wasn't an IP capturing the MCU fans' imagination. So Raimi being involved is massive, of course. And Tobey Maguire is the best live-action Spider-Man. I'll take no debate. But let's get back to DC, because this is absolutely massive. Massive what they are doing, because although the MCU will tap into their own multiverse, and let's be clear here, both sides of both comic companies have been tapping into multiverse stories for generations. It's been a bigger thing with DC Comics, of course. It's always been a thing. One thing I noticed from Twitter yesterday, it's pretty clear when you see the Snyder fans who don't actually understand DC Comics and not particularly DC fans, they're more Snyder fans, and that's okay. I'm a Snyder fan, but first and foremost, I'm a DC fan. So you need to understand something, because we've got people like, we've got scoopers like Thomas Polito saying that Keaton is replacing Affleck. Keaton is replacing nobody. Keaton is coming back as that Batman we know. Somehow, Ezra Miller's the Flash, because like Doctor Strange, the Flash has the ability to tap into and travel to different Earths. Now, in Flashpoint, a brand new Earth is created. An Earth where Wonder Woman and Aquaman are these villains, these brutal dictators. Now, I don't know if we're going to go there. That's interesting. But there's so many different things coming out now that Keaton is going to be appearing in multiple DC movies. And they're talking about Batgirl. For me, Batgirl's not really being talked about anymore. So that's why I kind of doubt that situation. But who knows? Christina Hodgson may still be working on that movie. But right now, she's adapting the story for The Flash. So, she's actually done it. The story's been done, and they're still working on it. Now, what's interesting and what we kind of touched on yesterday was Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming back as Thomas Wayne to reprise his role as Thomas Wayne from Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Now, what's very, very interesting is Humberto Gonzalez from The Wrap, who is the guy who broke this story. He seems to be the guy that Warner Media are trusting with this information. This isn't a leak like the old days. Warner wanted this to come out. Jim Lee and Walter Hamada definitely wanted this to come out. And this is why it's happening. And he's the one they're trusting now with this information. So I do trust Humberto. I think there may be stories he comes out sometimes which are a bunch of shit. We mustn't forget that he came out to us, a while back and said there was no way the Snyder Cut was going to happen. Well, what we've got to remember, that's when Kevin Sugihara was in charge, and he was just echoing information. he was told. And, that's what journalists do. So that's why I don't have a dislike or a distrust of Umberto. So I do trust him. I do believe Keaton is returning. Now, what's interesting, actually, Hilary Burton Morgan, who's married to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I saw a day-old tweet from her when the articles were coming out about Jeffrey Dean Morgan reprising his role in Flashpoint. She liked it with hearts. She quote-tweeted it with hearts. Now, Umberto Gonzalez is saying that Morgan isn't returning, but the man's wife is liking the post and the rumours about him returning. So maybe there's a chance that he could, in fact, still play a little cameo, but not play as big a role as Michael Keaton. I know this because I'm embedded within the DC fandom and the Snyder fandom. So the Snyder fandom would rather that Jeffrey Dean Morgan reprise his role as Thomas Wayne. But when we look at the cinematic audiences, the fans, the Batman fans, the DC enthusiasts, the hardcore DC fans, everybody's going to want Keaton. So if there's a vote, not just within the Snyder community, but from everyone, everyone's going to pump for Keaton via Morgan, rather than Morgan. And I think this is the thing here. So, Keaton's going to win the popularity contest, not within the DCEU Snyderverse fandom. But here's the thing, this stuff, the idea to go into the multiverse direction has been in the planning and the development since Walter Hamada took over. This was the plan. I can imagine that Jim Lee and Walter Hamada sat there when they first took over DC Films, and obviously Jim is in charge of DC as a whole, the comics and live action, and they said, listen, it's clear that the Snyderverse has its fandom, but we can't just go with it and just put Zack in charge and have nothing else. There's an untapped potential. How do we please everybody else? How do we please the DC hardcore fans who buy comics and support us? And it's important that we don't just say, if you don't like it, tough. They need to be, represented as well. There's a space for everyone at DC, and that's the way it should be. And I actually read something on Twitter from a Snyder fan saying it really gets on my nerves, people talking about these films who are not Snyder fans, and that really upset me and disappointed me because, DC Comics has been around longer than Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and as much as I love those films, I'm not willing to stand by as a DC purist and have fans who have been supporting this IP for 20 or 30 or even more years to be excluded from live action movies. So we have a situation of this multiverse. I've seen a lot of multiverse maps. Listen, whatever we've heard from Umberto Gonzalez, we are going to find out the truth. We are going to find out this roadmap on August the 22nd at the DC Fandom. Now, so even though I trust what Umberto's saying, and I think everyone's confirming this, and over at the Hollywood Reporter, they're talking about, a multi-picture deal for Michael Keaton. Again, this really excites me. I think this is the way to go. But this is not just about Michael Keaton. Let's not forget who's starring in the Flashpoint movie. This is Ezra Miller's film, and this is going to be an amazing film. This film has the potential to make over $1 billion. This could be the most successful DC movie of all time, because you've got to remember, Keaton being involved in this film is massive, but a Flash film is even bigger because the Flash is as popular as Superman and Batman. This will be the first live-action standalone Flash movie of that's ever been made. I know we're going to see him in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I know we saw him cameo in Suicide Squad and BVS, but this is his baby. And of course, Ezra Miller has a lot to do with the production of the film and the storytelling of the film. It was him who pushed out the other two, writer-directors. So, he's helped get it to where it is as well. Everyone has. So all of a sudden, this project has big importance because the Flash movie is actually going to launch the origin story of the multiverse in DC Films. We got to stop just seeing this as the DCEU and the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse is there, but the Arrowverse is there. And we will meet new characters from new Earths. And we have got so much to look forward to. And as I say, tapping into the multiverse is a really good idea. Now, someone said this is actually a mess to do it like this. If tapping into the multiverse in a DC film franchise is a mess, then DC Comics must have been a mess for years, because they've been doing wonderful multiverse stories for many, many years that we've all known and loved. This is the way to go. This is the way to please everyone. It's going to happen. Negativity isn't going to talk it down. And if you're a Snyder purist, right, that's great. I'm a Snyder fan, but I'm not a Snyder purist. It's not all Snyder or nothing. I want everything. I want everything represented. And what Jim Lee and Walter Hamada are doing here is the right thing. And, you know, we've still got to wait till August the 22nd. But what you're going to get on August the 22nd is a clarification. The famous last words I keep on saying, we're not going to get much news till August the 22nd. Then last night, Keaton's return as Batman drops. How many people were watching Batman and Batman Returns after they heard this news? I couldn't sleep last night. I genuinely. And do you know what makes me mad? And I've been talking about this every day. People within the Snyder fandom are still arguing about clout and about nonsense. And if you can't be excited when you hear about Keaton and you're still arguing amongst yourselves, that means you're not really fans, you're not really DC fans, and you really do disappoint me if all you're going to do is argue with each other. Some of the biggest news in live action DC history has been, broken. And it's like you don't even care. You're not even here for the films and the characters and the fan interaction. And that really disappoints me. It really does. Now, in terms of the MCU tapping into the multiverse, that's exciting. But at the end of the day, they can tap into things like, Singer's X-Men and the original Fantastic Four as well. That would be interesting to see Chris Evans as the Flame-O guy, or whatever you call him, as well. You've also got Lou Ferrigno's Incredible Hulk. Be great to see him as well. I think he would be a better Hulk than Mark Ruffalo. What a shame we don't have the legendary Bill Bixby still with us, because what a guy he was. But I'm talking about the MCU because they don't have that much live action history apart from Raimi's Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, X-Men. But what we've got over at DC, we've been doing live action over on DC since 1978. We have the Reeves Superman, which is now played by Brandon Routh. Don't worry, Brandon Routh Superman fans. He is part of this multiverse. He will either get an HBO Max show or he will be involved in the movies. But we will see him. He's become very vital and important now because he is the Christopher Reeve Superman, who, of course, is very important to us. And anyone who didn't enjoy his appearance on Crisis, why? He was amazing. Yes, the budget wasn't there for him within the flying and stuff, but it still looked cool. But imagine him in a movie budget. Imagine him being able to do a sequel to Superman Returns. That would be amazing. The potential is limitless here. It's the way to go. We've got to stop being selfish and, just say, well, I just care about the Snyderverse. No, then you're not a DC fan. Good luck to you. Enjoy the Snyderverse. I'm looking forward to the Air Cut and Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's great. But suddenly, since Zack's cut's been announced, things are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I've never been more excited for this stuff in all my life. And I want to know what you think. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow, probably unless something else breaks or I'm just bored. But I will be back either tomorrow or later today. So see you again soon on the DC Daily. Or on Big Mouth or whatever. Come over Twitter, @MoviesTVMad. Let's have some banter.